Hi everyone, so today we're back with another video and we're going to be talking about 5 tips that will help you get through if you're in the music industry. I want to say there is like the worst storm happening outside right now and it's really loud, so if you hear the rain and the wind, that's just part of the aesthetic for the video today. Also, every time I film, my dog is like, I'm going to be in the frame, so we're just gonna she'll come in and out, she'll appear. So today's video is geared towards people who are working in the music industry, specifically more people who are like independent and are trying to navigate their way through, and maybe you're just starting off, maybe you've just made the decision that you want to sort of take your music career to the next level, and these are some things that I have learned throughout the years of being an independent artist, and I hope that it's things that could be useful. I feel like usually in most cases we learn how to act based on like the mistakes that we make, so I know that I've definitely made a lot of different mistakes, and I'm happy to share them and to learn from them, and hopefully it will help somebody else who might be going through the same thing. So tip number 1 is to embrace rejection. In any career path and in any kind of thing you decide that you want to do in life, there's gonna be some form of rejection at some point, and it's a part of life. However, in the music industry specifically, a lot of times things are based on people's personal taste, or you have to fit a criteria that they're specifically looking for. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not talented, and this doesn't mean that the work that you've created isn't good, but it might just be that the people that you're presenting it to aren't looking for the thing that you're providing. I have been singing all my life, and I've been writing songs for like years and years. Sometimes I send people things and they're like, you know what? This just isn't for me. I don't like it. I don't like the style. I don't like the lyrics. I don't like, all of those things. And you know what? It's gonna happen. I remember I watched this like Katy Perry documentary on E like years and years ago, and she said that like she got like a million no's before she got a yes. And that's part of the game. I'm not expecting people to kind of be like, okay, I got rejected. Yes. Like, not like that. But I firmly believe that rejection leads you to the next thing. And in a way, it's kind of a blessing in disguise, because I think things are sort of meant to be. And if that person or that organization or that, thing that you're applying to is saying, you know what, this person isn't for us, maybe you're not for them. And maybe you have to take that and see, why wasn't I for them? What can I do to kind of tailor myself more towards what they want? Or if you don't want to do that, you can say, you know what, this organization isn't for me. They're not looking for the kind of thing that I'm creating, and that is totally okay. Any person who has been releasing music or trying to get their music out there will tell you that they've been rejected from things all the time. I get rejections all the time, whether it be on a professional level when I apply to things, or whether I want to perform somewhere, or whether I, ask for feedback. There's always going to be times where people are going to react negatively to the thing that you create. That's kind of a thing about art, and that comes with anything artistic. A lot of it is sort of like to the taste of the person, and just because something is not to the taste of that person doesn't mean that you're not a good artist. It doesn't mean you're not good at what you do. And it might be hard to see it now. Let's say you tried to get something and it didn't work, or people aren't letting you have the creative outlet that you wanted to have. Show them in a different way. You as a creator have the control to be able to say, you know what, if that person doesn't want me, I'm going to find an alternative way. I'm going to say, you know what, maybe I have to be outside the box, and that's okay. And I think most people who end up making an impact are people who kind of do things outside of the box. And that might take some time to figure out how to do. But the important thing to note is that rejection is going to come at all points of your career. Even if you become extremely successful, there will be times in your professional life where you face rejection. The key is to not let it pull you down. Obviously, you're human, you can be upset about these things. Take it and move forward. If every rejection is a huge stumbling block for you, it's going to slow down your progress by so much. Know that you're great, know that there's more opportunities, and know that, you know what, this wasn't the right thing, but the next thing is coming. Alright, tip number 2 is probably one of the most important things, and it's something that I definitely learned the hard way. Always sign a contract. There are so many ways that people can take advantage of the work that you do, or your kindness, or honestly anything. I'll use myself as an example. One of my first experiences after I started recording and releasing music was an issue that came up because I did not sign a contract. I was working with someone that I knew from beforehand, which I think a lot of times is the stumbling block that comes, because obviously you hope that somebody that you know that you work with is going to be fair and do what you've agreed upon. It's important to know that that is never the case. Even if it is a close friend or a family member, have the habit and the practice of always writing a contract to the terms that you both agree upon. Otherwise, you are not protected. In this industry, you have to protect yourself, and that does not mean that you step on other people to do that. You make sure that the terms of the other person are clearly understood and you both sign something that makes sense to you at the time that you know that you're agreeing upon. I was once in the middle of a project that I'd already paid for production services for, and this was like really at the start of everything, and the person I was working with basically said, if you don't pay me more money, I'm not going to continue. And I was shocked. I was like, how could this happen? Like, I trusted you, you know, all of those things. But you know what? Over time, you learn you need to be more careful. Business and friendship are two separate things. And even though sometimes that's hard to come to terms with, it's super important to protect yourself. So please make sure that every single time you collaborate with someone, this could even be, you know, on a production level, on a vocal level, especially if you're distributing music and, you know, you want to split the royalties or you want to do something that involves money. So important. And I know it sounds like something obvious, but sometimes, you know, you're just in the moment and you make a decision and then, you know, you don't do it. And in the end, it's much harder for everybody involved. Another important thing to say is if you work on a project and you want to get credit for the work that you've done, make sure that is discussed before. I'll say for myself that one of the hardest things I've experienced is when I worked really hard on a project and I realized afterwards that even though I knew people involved, I might not get the credit on something that could have been really critically acclaimed. And obviously that was an upsetting situation, but at the same time, it's also on me to make sure that I am protecting myself as a person who's an artist in this industry. And to say beforehand at the start of any project, these are the terms that I agree to, and this is what I'm going to do, and we're going to sign it. I can guarantee you this tip will help you, especially if you're collaborating with a lot of different people. Just make sure, and if these people are professional people, they will 100% say, you know what, this is a great idea, we should have it in writing and I'll sign it. If they don't want to, it might not be worth working with them. Tip number 3 is to take on critique. This kind of builds off tip number 1 about rejection, but this is more really being able to internalize what sometimes, you know, can be hard to hear in order to make your work better. Obviously, as an artist, you're going to feel like your ideas are the ones that you want to present and, you know, you want to protect them. It's kind of like your baby. When you have a song and you've worked on it for so long and you've poured your heart and soul into it, I will say I do find it hard sometimes to kind of let go of that feeling of like, this is my baby and I had this idea because of this and these are the reasons. Sometimes when you send it to a couple people for critique or you want feedback, sometimes they are telling you that feedback because there is substance to what they're saying. Especially if you're asking other musicians or other people that really listen to music and have a great ear for that kind of thing. When people are critiquing your work in a constructive, respectful way, take it on board. That doesn't mean you have to listen to everything that somebody said, but it is important to kind of be open to those things. Especially if you're collaborating with other people and they have other ideas, it's important to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to kind of like be in your shoes about this. Maybe I'll try and, you know, see where you're coming from. Maybe I'll step out of the way that I'm hearing it now and maybe I'll, you know, have a new idea and it will be even better. An important thing to note though is that if somebody is criticizing you non-stop and it's not in a respectful way and it's not something that you've even asked for, then you can draw the line and say, you know what, I hear your opinion, I respect what you have to say, but from now on, you know, I don't want to hear your feedback on this right now because I'm working on it and it's something that, you know, is still in progress and I'm making these decisions. I think I've just seen it too many times. I've never experienced it myself, where you want to sort of be open to feedback, but sometimes that opens you up to really harsh critique that you might not need at that time. And I think it's important to know that even though you're an artist and you're asking for feedback, that doesn't mean that people don't need to respect you. And that's another thing. I think every point about this is to make sure you protect yourself and that you respect yourself and obviously that you respect others, but this is about you as an artist in the industry. Tip number 4 also kind of builds off of tip number 3, but this is kind of in the opposite way. Back your ideas. If you have an idea and it's something that you're completely set on, even if everybody is telling you creatively, I don't think this is a good idea, I don't understand it, I don't get it, if it is something that you genuinely believe in and it's something that you do not want to give up on, I say go for it. Back your ideas. I know this is already quite well known, but people told Freddie Mercury that people wouldn't play Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio because it was too long. Decades later, they are still playing Bohemian Rhapsody. It's one of the most popular songs that has ever existed. Imagine if Freddie Mercury would have been like, you know what, these people are right, it's too long, I'm going to cut it short. We would have missed minutes of Bohemian Rhapsody that have shaped musical lives. I don't mean to get dramatic, but I'm a big fan of Queen. Think how many people probably would have told Lady Gaga to tone it down at the beginning of her career. No? She shouldn't have done that. She should have done what she did because it worked. New sounds and new things are not created by holding back. And I think it's really important that if you have something that you need to say it. The worst thing that can happen is it's not your most successful thing that you've ever put out there, but you did it because you believed in it, and I think that's really powerful. Now, of course, it's important to think about what makes sense, like in terms of your career path, if you have a plan, if there's a manager involved, if there's other people involved. But at the same time, it is important to know that you are the artist, you have the creative ideas, and you do have creative control. It's so important to take hold of that and to really feel like you have the power, because you are the artist, you are the creative person, and it's your ideas. These all kind of do build off each other, because number 5 is to take risks. Risks look different for everybody. So, for example, I release a lot of sort of down-tempo, slow music. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I'll just come out with like a really like up-tempo rock song, you know? And for me, that feels risky because it's a completely different thing to what I usually do. For some people, being risky is wearing a meat dress on the red carpet. For some people, being risky is putting bagpipes in their song, or pairing a harmonica with a triangle. I'm just thinking of random things. But I think in such an oversaturated market, people are always looking for something new. If you never take risks and you don't try, you will never make something new. If you never take risks to make something new, then you will not make something new. And I know that sounds obvious, but sometimes we need that advice of kind of just like, you know what? That fire is lit underneath you. Go for it. Everyone's doing one thing, you do the other. Try it out. I'll even say for me, like I get really nervous like when I'm filming TikToks because I feel like I'm so like, I don't understand TikTok. I feel like I'm like an old lady and I just don't get it. But I realize for me that taking that risk and kind of maybe even looking silly sometimes, it's worth it to see if it pays off. And if it doesn't, I learned. And if it does, that's awesome. But my main point is that people in the industry, whether you're an artist, a musician, a producer, people get taken advantage of. As a creator and as somebody that has a talent to give, you deserve the respect and you deserve to protect yourself from the dangers that are around within the industry. There is so much more than we could cover, but I think these are sort of like the main things that it's important to stick with, and I hope that this video gave you some confidence and courage to continue on the path that you're going on. If you have any experiences that you'd like people to learn from, please leave a comment down below. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And I've started a Patreon, which is really exciting, and if you're interested in taking a look, you can find the link in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and continue making incredible music, and if you have anything to share, please do so in the comments below.